Han had spent his high school years in the shadows, quietly enduring the torment of Lee, his bully. Lee wasn't just cruel, his words cut deeper than any physical blow. The names he called Han, the ridicule, and the beatings made Han feel invisible, unworthy, and completely alone. Every day felt like a battle to survive, and every night, he wondered if he'd ever see the next light of day. Han hated Lee with a passion. How could he not? Lee made sure no one wanted to be friends with him, isolating him completely. Han learned to embrace the silence and keep to himself, convinced that if he stayed out of sight, he could avoid the storm. But everything changed when Park transferred to their school. Park was the kind of guy who turned heads effortlessly. Tall, handsome, and intelligent, he had the aura of someone destined for greatness. Yet, to Han's surprise, Park didn't seek the spotlight. Instead, he sought him. Han noticed Park's lingering glances in class and the way he'd smile shyly whenever they crossed paths. At first, Han thought it was a joke, another cruel prank orchestrated by Lee. But Park's intentions were genuine. One day, he approached Han during lunch, his confidence masking a tinge of nervousness. "Han," Park said softly, his eyes warm and earnest, "I think you're incredible. I'd like to get to know you better." Han was stunned. How could someone like Park see anything in him? He didn't know what to say, but a small flicker of hope sparked within him, hope that someone could see him for more than the broken boy Lee had turned him into. Lee, however, had been watching. When he realized Park was interested in Han, something snapped within him. Jealousy boiled in his chest, and for the first time, he understood the depth of his own feelings. Lee wasn't just angry, he was afraid. Afraid of losing Han to someone else. Afraid of the emotions he had buried since middle school. Unable to bear it any longer, Lee confronted Han after school. Han braced himself for another round of insults, but instead, Lee's voice was shaky and uncharacteristically soft. Han," Lee stammered, his usual confidence nowhere to be found. "I need to tell you something. I've been in love with you. For years. I didn't know how to handle it, so I took it out on you. I'm sorry. I was scared of what my friends would think. Scared of myself." Han's heart raced. He had spent so long hating Lee that the idea of Lee harboring love for him felt surreal. He stared at Lee, searching his face for any sign of a lie. But all he saw was raw vulnerability. Then, to Han's shock, Lee leaned in and kissed him, a kiss filled with desperation and longing. Han pushed him away, his emotions a whirlwind. "You expect me to forgive you? After everything you've put me through?" he asked, his voice trembling. "You need to prove to me that you're worth my time. Show me that you've changed." Han's words were firm, but deep down, he knew Lee had awakened something within him. He couldn't deny the spark between them, but he wasn't going to make it easy for Lee. Meanwhile, Han met with Park to let him down gently. "Park, you're amazing," he said, "but my heart is complicated. I need to figure some things out." Park smiled sadly but nodded. "I understand. Just don't let anyone dim your light, okay?" With Park's blessing, Han allowed Lee to try and win him over. Lee, determined to prove his sincerity, began to show a side of himself Han had never seen. He apologized, not just with words but with actions. He protected Han from anyone who tried to mock him, stood by his side, and gave him the friendship and support Han had always craved. One night, after weeks of rebuilding their connection, Han found himself in Lee's room. They talked for hours, sharing secrets and dreams they had never told anyone else. The tension between them grew until Lee leaned in, whispering, "I'll spend the rest of my life making up for the way I hurt you." Their lips met in a passionate kiss, and for the first time, Han felt truly wanted. That night was a whirlwind of passion and tenderness. Lee's hands traced Han's skin, his whispered apologies turning into sweet nothings. They lost themselves in each other, the pain of the past melting away in the intimacy of the moment. Morning came, and Lee's sister unexpectedly walked in. Han scrambled to cover himself, but to their surprise, she just grinned. "I knew it," she said, clapping her hands. "You two are so obvious." Finally, embarrassed but relieved, they laughed, realizing they no longer had to hide. When Lee and Han went public with their relationship, the response was overwhelmingly positive. Their classmates celebrated their bravery, and even those who once mocked Han praised the beauty of their love. For the first time in years, Han felt seen, not as a victim, but as someone worthy of love. Lee kept his promise, proving every day that he was worthy of Han's forgiveness. And Han, in turn, embraced the happiness he never thought he'd find. Together, they turned their shadows into light, building a love that was stronger than the pain of the past.